Yay, sweet. This is amazing. Okay, I think we're live right now. It might just be a little laggy on that side, but we are all set. So for all of you joining and watching, I just want to say I have a very, very special guest today. I have the beautiful Kelly Brock, who is a former client, and she's here to share just a little bit about her whole experience of working with me and her whole journey of self-discovery and self-exploration that has landed her with an amazing man now, who she keeps telling me, she's like, I think I found the one. So I really wanted to bring her on inside of our Facebook group today and be able to just have her share her story and everything that she's really learned from her experience to just give you guys some excitement, some hope, some inspiration, and show you what's really possible when you really choose to make the time to go within and invest in yourself and get the support that you know you need. So welcome, Kelly. So good to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Amazing. So let's first talk about where you're at right now and the current life that you live right now, and then we'll kind of reverse and go back to where you started when you first found me and what happened in between. So where are you at with your life right now in all regards?
Oh my goodness, it's like a 180 since the last time we spoke. So like you said, I'm with an amazing guy right now. Like I didn't even think that guys like him still existed. Like that's how amazing it's been. And it's just been easy. And it's just like, I could like cry thinking about it already, but it's just been such a different relationship for me compared to any other one I've ever had. And it's just like, feels right, but in a way that like, I'm not having to like force it or push it or anything like that. It's just like he fits for me. Like, and everything is really great. And he's attractive and he's motivated and he's into health and fitness like I am. And, you know, I was reading, oh, this is great. The book that you had recommended for me to read, The Untethered Soul, I was telling him about it. He started reading the book. He just was like, oh yeah, I picked it up one day and started reading it. So I decided to just read the whole thing. So with that, it's been great. And then I actually got a new job. So when I was meeting with you, I had a terribly toxic job as a special education science teacher. I ended up getting a job as an adjunct professor of nutrition science, which was my goal from the time that I started graduate school. I love teaching. So I also have my clinical nutrition practice that, you know, was because of everything else I had going on, wasn't doing so great. And then, you know, something just clicked, and it's like all these things all happen kind of in accordance with each other. Then I found this beautiful apartment that, you know, I was looking for apartments, was aggravated, and I'm on Long Island, so it's really expensive, whatever. And I put out on Facebook to my friends, like, I'm looking, if you know anything, whatever. And then I got fed up with like what I was looking at wasn't so great. I was like, you know what? When the time's right, something's going to come to me, and I just let it be. My friend texts me. She's like, hey, you know, I'm moving out with my husband and my mom wants somebody that she knows. And here I am. And it's a beautiful apartment with these beautiful barn doors, if you can see behind me. And it's like everything since I like have seen you is just like flowing into place in all areas. But it definitely did not start like that.
Oh my God, I am so happy to hear all of these updates. This just makes me so happy. And I know Kelly's been just texting me like throughout the months, just like, guess what just happened? Guess what just happened? And I'm like, okay, we just need to come on and just like celebrate all of this right now. So you've attracted the man of your dreams. You have an amazing apartment in Long Island. You shifted out of a toxic, draining career into something that is way more fulfilling as a professor and running your own clinical nutrition program. That is just so exciting to hear. So let's now reverse a little bit and talk about where you started when you first came to me.
Hi.
Who was that woman? Isn't this funny? Usually I talk about who's the woman you want to become. We're going to talk about who's the woman you used to be.
Yeah. So when we had started together, so the reason I found you was because I was going through, it was the tip of a breakup. So I had been with somebody for 3 years, and things were starting to go south. Now reflecting back, now I know really where like things were turning bad, but at the time you're so in it and you're so like, this is the person for me, and all of these things. And so I was convinced that this was the guy for me. We lived together, we had an apartment together, we had gotten in a few fights here and there, and we went on a trip for our 3-year anniversary that was supposed to be a proposal. And he had told everybody that he was going to propose to me. He had the ring with him, everything. It didn't happen. And then when we came back from that trip, things just changed. I guess he like realized that we're not a good fit for each other. So at the end of the breakup, it was very messy. Like, there was a lot of sad stuff that happened as a part of it. He took a lot of my stuff. He took a lot of my jewelry. He took a lot of my clothes, like crazy things that when I would tell my friends, they'd be like, what? Like, what kind of breakup was that? You know, and you're with this person for 3 years, you think that you really know who they are. And it turned out he's not who I thought he was. Actually, just recently found out he's engaged to somebody else. But, but I don't care. I really, like, I found out and I was like, oh, that kind of sucks for her, but whatever. But so after that, I was in this like weird place where I was just like, one, trying to like grasp onto the relationship, like, no, this has to work, this is my plan, like I'm supposed to have kids with this person and we live together and I love his family and all of this stuff. So that's where I came to you. I had been talking to a bunch of friends about like, I don't know what to do and I'm so in the dumps and blah blah blah, and they were like, oh, you have to talk to Teal. Like, so many different people told me to reach out to you. Thank God I did, because those massive emails I used to send to you, I like, that was a form of therapy for me at that time. And then, you know, from that, so after he was out of the picture, then there were, can I use names? Am I allowed to use names? Okay. Plus these guy names are all the same anyway. Then there was Mike. So Severio was my ex. We broke up, whatever, all that stuff happened. And then I met Mike, and it was hot and cold. And he was interested, he wasn't interested. He was showing up, he wasn't showing up. It got so bad to the point where his family like were calling me his girlfriend, and I wasn't his girlfriend. So that's like, you know, and then there was a point where I was just like, I'm done with this. Like, he's not showing up the way I want him to. He's not respecting my values. I'm going to forget about guys right now, and I'm just going to focus on myself. And that's when I got the apartment. And then with everything going on, I was doing the remote teaching thing or whatever. And Nick, who's my now boyfriend, he'd been DMing me all of this time. So like while I was at the end of Severio with Mike or whatever, I was like, you know, just ignoring him really and just being like, okay, sure, whatever. But it was never anything like creepy. It wasn't like, you know, like, oh God, this guy's got to back off. It was more like little comments here and there. And so I had went out with my friends for a girls' night dinner because it was my 1-year anniversary of being single. We called it my freedom dinner. And we were talking about guys and DMs and those things and like creepy messages that guys send you. So I'm like, oh, there's this guy, he keeps DMing me. And they all look and they're like, and you're not answering him because why? And I'm like, huh, I don't really know why I'm not answering him. And so then I answered him, and like from the first date, like we went out to dinner, and everything you would wish for in a first date is what happened. Like, we had so much in common. We were connecting, laughing, talking, no awkward pauses, nothing, very respectful, opened the door for me, like all that stuff. And then we ended up spending like 3 hours in the parking lot just talking. So after that, I was like, oh, wow, like this is a little scary because I've never felt so connected to somebody before, but also it's really exciting because this is what it's supposed to feel like. So it was kind of a long journey to get to where I am now, but it definitely, you know, it was worth it. And like I said, it's been ever since, it's just been easy. It's been just like a flow.
Yes. Would you say that you've been able to really relax into love?
Yes, I have been relaxing into love quite a bit. And he, not me, him, had been making all these comments about like calling me the one in front of all his friends and talking about what houses do I like and what towns do I like and, you know, what do you want to, he said at first he was like your wedding, and then he like snuck in like our wedding. And another huge thing, I don't think I told you this one, but you know, after living with my ex, I promised myself that I wouldn't move in with somebody until I had an engagement ring on my finger, because from that experience, I just know that I need that commitment level before I move in with somebody. So I said to him something along the lines of that, and he was like, well, I guess I better start saving for a ring then. And I was like, oh, like I just was expecting him to say that. So it's all stuff like that. It's been really nice.
I love seeing how much you've just incorporated all of my teachings and all of the learnings just into this, and now it's just become part of your speak, part of your language, part of your way of being. And that's just what's so beautiful to see, is that it doesn't have to be this thing that you have to strategize or think about. You just get to be this woman, and he just eats it up, and he's just carrying you forward. This is so, so beautiful. I'm so happy for you. So for the ladies that are not yet at this point in their journey, that are maybe thinking about like, okay, well, that's great for you, Kelly, but what about me? What would you say to women that are more where you were before, feeling either coming out of a really painful breakup or feeling like they're just stuck and not being able to even find good men to even go on first dates with? What do you feel was a really big shift for you from our work together that really was able to allow you to actually even attract someone of this caliber into your life?
Well, I will say that when we started, there was a video you had of, I don't remember her name, but somebody that had gotten engaged after a very similar situation to mine. And I watched it and I was like, no way. Like that's who does that happen to? It doesn't happen like that. And I really was in that negative mindset. And now I'm being where I am now, I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. Like I just needed to do all the work. So, you know, breakups suck. They're just painful, and they're, you know, sometimes the person isn't who you think they are. I think that was the biggest pain that I had from it. But what I noticed when we broke up was like I started becoming more of myself. And so I started going to yoga more regularly, and I started hanging out with my friends more than I was. And I just was more me. And I realized while we were working together, I want to be with someone who makes me more of me, not less of me. And with my ex, that's how I always felt, was like he was always, you know, buying me gifts and like jewelry and things like that, which I always feel terrible saying, but like they weren't me. Where with Nick, like he gets who I am. Like he wants to buy me like Barnes and Noble's gift cards because he knows I love to read, like things like that. And so from all the things that we worked on, really being in touch with myself first, because then I was able to say to myself and not focus on like a specific guy, but more of what I wanted. And oh, speaking of this, so this just popped in my head. I just got really excited. So I found when we had worked together, you asked me to write like you know, the visualization for my life. And I was like, oh, why am I finding this right now? And when I read through it, one of the things I wrote was, I want a healthy relationship with somebody who honors honesty, communication, and health. And that is literally what Nick is. So I really was able to say to myself, like, this is what I want, and this is what I'm not willing to put up with. So in the past, you know, for me personally, I'm not comfortable with somebody who does recreational drugs. That's not like a thing that aligns with my spirit. And in the past, I just like, okay, whatever, that's what he does. That's just who he is, whatever. I made it clear from day one with Nick, like, if that's something that you do, this is a deal breaker. And I feel like doing things like that is a result of our work, of like me really getting in touch with who I was and who I am and how I wanted to approach. I wanted a different relationship. My relationships I had in the past were not fulfilling on my end. And I always thought it was something with me and not like the person I was attracting. And then I realized, like, no, it's really like you're not standing up for what you want. And then once I did that, that's when Nick came. But there was a lot of triggers with Mike though. Mike brought out every trigger that I had, which I think was like setting the stage for Nick.
Yes, 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 yes. And I love that you're saying that you're feeling more comfortable now to be able to stand in your boundaries and stand in your needs and not feeling afraid to communicate your needs. Was there a time when you were starting to practice this where you started to feel like, oh gosh, maybe I shouldn't say what I want for fear of I might lose him?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, more so with Mike than with Nick, but like you know, there were certain things that I just knew, like I knew from the get-go that I wanted to have a relationship where we both had separate lives. Like I wanted to have our lives together, but also he's very into food and he does like food blogging, things like that. So I really was attracted to the fact that once we were in a relationship, he wasn't crowding me and asking me like every single night to hang out. It was, are you free this day? I made this reservation for us for this day, and that kind of stuff was really an attractor for me. And then once I noticed that, I was able to kind of say to myself more so, like, this is the amount of time I'm comfortable with spending together, and these are the amount of days that I need to myself. And there was one or two times in the relationship already where I was like, oh, you know, I really just feel like hanging out at home by myself tonight. And okay, no problem, I'll see you tomorrow or whatever. And it's not an issue. But in the past, I would have been like, oh my God, like if I don't hang out with him, maybe he's going to think I don't like him or things like that. And that's been a huge thing for me, is like having the two separate lives.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh. So many nuggets of wisdom you're dropping right now. And for all of you guys listening just and watching this, just take notes, right? Because this is a woman who's been there, gone through it, and gotten to the other side. And everything you're sharing here is just so incredibly powerful about really honoring you, making the relationship you have with you the number one priority always. Before, like going through the breakup, when you're single, and when you're in a new relationship, never sacrificing that relationship with yourself, because that is usually the one that goes in a new relationship, because we want to accommodate, we want to make compromises, we want to be able to show our best side, but then when we do that, we end up losing ourselves into the relationship. So what I'm hearing is that you have really anchored in, and I know you went through the Love from Within program where that's all about the self-love, and then the Attraction Academy, all about attracting in your man. So you've been able to really anchor in who you are and then attract someone in without losing that anchor for who you are. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
So beautiful, Kelly. Oh my gosh. I am just so happy to have you share this with my community. And I want to take a second to just check and see. This is the first time I've done a live in the group. I want to see if there's any comments right now. I see some love, some hearts. For anyone that's watching live, feel free to make some comments if you'd like, or ask any questions. But any last things that you want to share before we wrap up today?
Well, I will tell you that like I never thought that this relationship was possible. Like when I was in the previous relationship where I thought that was it for me, even then I had that little self voice that was like, this doesn't feel right. Like it's been so long, you've been together, everybody expects you to be together. And knowing what I know now, if it was like back then and I felt the way I do now, I probably would have left a lot longer, a lot sooner. But because what happened was I didn't honor myself and what I wanted. So then he felt that. He got resentful. We were fighting all the time. And then at one point it just blew up, and then there was no coming back from that. And I'm kind of happy that it happened that way now, not then. Oh my God. Then I was a mess. I was like crying all the time. I was crying my way to work, and oh, that was terrible. But now I'm happy it happened that way, because I am learned to trust myself. And that was a big thing for me when I was in previous relationships. Like I always felt like I wasn't allowed to want what I wanted, if that makes sense. And then once we worked together, and then after, you know, we did the group program together, and then I've been doing self-work pretty much ever since. I'm continuing yoga, meditation, therapy, journaling, like all the things. I do them all the time. But it just like reminded me to always trust myself first. And when Nick came into the picture, like there was just something about him that just made me feel safe. And it's the first time I've ever like feeling statements and like told him, I feel safe with you, I feel protected, I feel this, I feel that. And actually he made it official right after I told him I felt safe with him. Like I said it to him, and then it was so funny. He's like, so like, you know, I feel like I'm a little too old to say this, but like, do you want to be my girlfriend? It was the cutest thing. But I just thought it was so interesting because I checked in with myself and how I felt. And I didn't expect him to say anything back. And then that's how he responded to me. It was amazing.
Yes. Oh my God. So sweet. This is just reminding me of one other thing too that you were, I remember was a big hang up for you that I can imagine. And I know for many women can also be a hang up. And I would love for you to just be able to share about this a little bit. I remember at one point you came to me and you're like, Teal, I'm afraid I'm too old, right? It's too late. Like I've got a timeline here and my mind's already projected out. If I want to have kids by this date and I want to get married by this date, I need to find someone like 3 years ago and I just lost him. What do I do? Right? And dealing with that pressure. What really shifted for you and was able for you to be able to get out of that mindset and take that pressure off yourself?
So one of the things was obviously like in our work together, like us talking about like trusting myself and the things I just talked about. But the other thing was I started to realize that if I would have had that life that I thought that I wanted, we probably would be divorced. We would be fighting all the time. There were so many little things going on and like things that, because I want a baby. I always have wanted kids. Like I know I want that for myself, but thinking about him as a father and like it didn't feel right. It felt like I would be doing everything on my own and he wouldn't be there to support me and all of those things where now I'm like, okay, now this is the person that I could depend on if I had a kid and or if life went upside down or things like that. And you know, I think that we have this idea that you're supposed to get married by a certain time and have a kid by a certain time. And then since I started to get more involved in my social life, on my friends, they're outside the norm. Like some of them don't want kids, some of them don't want to get married. And so I started to see their lives and go like, oh, like even though I want kids, like it doesn't have to be this traditional, like you have to get married at this time and you have to have a kid by this time. And then I said to myself, like I needed to go through all of this in order to become like the wife and mother I eventually want to be.
Mm.
And once I really got that message of this is how I want to show up as a wife and a mother, and I was like, oh, that's why this didn't happen yet. Like this happened for a reason. I needed these lessons. I needed to really take care of myself because, you know, once you're a wife, you're a mother, there's like other responsibilities on the table. So it was really that I had the time frame to focus on myself is really what made me let it go. And then once I let it go, because even with Mike in the picture, he was a little older than Nick is. So like, and he had mentioned previously that he wasn't planning to have kids, and I was still like, well, maybe we'll make this work, and maybe he went, and I was like, no, 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 no. You want kids? That's a deal breaker for you, and you'll find somebody who wants them with you. And then like, there was another reason I let that go.
Mm. Yes, yes. And I remember us talking too a lot about, even by just holding on to this fear and giving that fear power, that is what is holding you back from being able to achieve it. Right?
Yeah.
It's like the very thing we're afraid of is what's actually keeping you from having it and perpetuating that fear. So I remember you just one day just deciding and us just clearing through it, just being like, no, this is doing the opposite of serving me or protecting me. This is actually hindering me. And then poof, here
Yeah.
you are. Like what? Less than a year later. It's
Yeah, that's crazy.
yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, amazing, Kelly. Well, thank you so much for coming on and just sharing. And yeah, if anyone has further questions, feel free to post them in the chat box, and you can tag Kelly. I'm sure she'd be happy to chat with you about it. And for those of you who want to continue to explore this with me, you know where to find me, DM me, and I'm happy to get on a free breakthrough call and just kind of hold space for you and hear about what your situation is and how we can really help transform your love life and create a whole nother version just like Kelly's and have you on here one day as well. So thank you, Kelly. I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful day and we'll talk soon.
All right, sounds
How things continue to go.
good.
All right, bye.
Bye.